Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. Jarosław Gowin was re-elected today for another term as leader of the Agreement Party, one of the three parties making up the United Right coalition that has been ruling in Poland since 2015. The spokeswoman of the party, Magdalena Sroka, stated that 289 delegates voted for Mr. Gowin. 3 were against and 4 abstained. The head of the Agreement Party said that his formation works for the benefit of the nation instead of pursuing individual goals. The Congress of the Agreement Party comes in the wake of tensions between it and the largest party of the ruling coalition, Law and Justice. The policies that I believe are the most important are connected with taxes. Firstly, we can't agree on a major tax hike on small and medium-sized enterprises, since they are the force that propels our economy forward. Secondly, we want to see more of the funds coming from personal and corporate income tax to go to local governments, because if we don't do that, many local governments will face great hardships. Politicians of Jarosław Gowin's agreement declared that they will not support the government's post-COVID-19 planned economic program named the Polish Deal if their most important postulates concerning small and medium-sized enterprises will not be fully implemented by the Law and Justice Party. We want to see more for Polish business owners. The foundation for creating wealth in this country is the hard work put in by those who have small and medium-sized businesses. We can't raise taxes on them. We can't put more burdens on their shoulders, especially as we are just coming out of the coronavirus pandemic. We must help them, not make things more complicated. And we will convince our partners in the Law and Justice Party that this is what must be done. Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Gowin also stated that many beneficial reforms have been introduced while the United Right coalition has formed government in Poland in the last 6 years. He emphasized that carrying them out required the ability to compromise from the members of the coalition. During the Congress, a letter from the head of the Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczyński, was read out. The letter stressed the importance of unity for the United Right coalition. And frustration is growing in the UK with the government's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. According to some estimates, over 1 million people took to the streets yesterday afternoon to express their discontent with lockdown measures. This especially since Downing Street has extended the lockdown until July 19th. These weekend protests started happening many months ago, but they have been growing in size almost exponentially in the last few weeks. Even the mainstream media was forced to report on the protests this weekend, although their headlines seem to downplay the amount of people who attended. From this aerial footage, it does seem like there are more than just hundreds of people. Many of the demonstrators stated that lockdowns do not seem to have any positive effect, and if they do have any, they are outweighed by all the negative effects. The protesters argue that this particularly applies to children who have had 2 school years destroyed due to remote learning. People at the protest also expressed that they are worried that schools will offer a return to in-person teaching on condition of vaccinations, despite the fact that forcing anyone to take it is against the Nuremberg Code. At one point, the demonstrators broke out in song with Pink Floyd's "Another Brick in the Wall." Teacher, leave them kids alone. The Australian city of Sydney and some surrounding areas have entered into a hard 2-week coronavirus lockdown struggle to control a fast-spreading outbreak of the Delta coronavirus variant that grew to 80 cases in just days. Millions of residents will have to hunker down at home for at least 2 weeks. More than 1 million people in downtown Sydney and the city's eastern suburbs were already under lockdown due to the outbreak. But health authorities said they needed to expand that after more COVID-19 cases were recorded, with exposure sites increasing beyond the initial areas of concern. The lockdown, announced by South Wales State Premier Gladys Berejiklian, will also include the regions of Blue Mountains, Central Coast and Wollongong, which surround Sydney.
If we're going to do this, we need to do it properly. There's no point doing a 3-day lockdown and then having the virus continue to bubble away in the community. Now, if after 7 days there's a dramatic change in the trend, well, obviously we'll evaluate the situation. But at this stage, the best health advice we have is that a 2-week period, or until midnight the Friday the 9th of July, is necessary in order to make sure we get to our target of zero community transmission, which has always been our target from the beginning of the pandemic.
Under the rules in place through July 9th, people can leave home for essential work, medical care, education, or shopping. The rest of the state will have limits on public gatherings, and masks will be obligatory indoors.
But the best advice we have from Dr. Chan and the health experts is that we should brace ourselves for more cases. We're finding that all household contacts, unfortunately, are getting the virus. Transmissibility is at least double what previous variants have been. So we do need to brace ourselves for potentially larger number of cases in the following days, and that's why it's so important we take action now.
Berejiklian's conservative state government was reluctant to impose the lockdowns, but a growing number of health experts have called for it as the country remains largely unvaccinated. And finally, on Saturday, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan launched a $15 billion canal project intended to relieve pressure on the busy Bosphorus Strait by laying the foundations of a bridge over the planned route. The Mayor of Istanbul and large parts of the opposition are against the project, which they claim will damage the natural environment in the area. Construction workers poured cement into the foundations of the 1.6-kilometer bridge during a ceremony as a crowd waved Turkish flags. Erdogan said the 45-kilometer-long canal would take 6 years to complete. Since we cannot close the strait to marine traffic, we came up with the idea of building a new canal to meet demand for increased traffic flow. We view Canal Istanbul as a project to save Istanbul's future. The government says it is increasingly hazardous for tankers to wind their way between the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara down the congested Bosphorus, which divides the European and Asian halves of Istanbul, a city of 15 million people. Already 43,000 ships pass through every year, far more than the 25,000 the government considers safe, causing longer and longer waiting time. By 2050, it is estimated that number will rise to 78,000. Each phase of the project has been carried out and completed in compliance with the laws and science. Now, I am calling on those who say that they were not asked for their opinion. Don't forget the following. We took this path after asking those whose opinions we needed. Russia is also concerned that the canal might not be covered by the 1936 Montreux Convention, which restricts the passage of non-Black Sea states' warships through the Bosphorus. Thanks for tuning in this evening, and have a great week ahead.